Hola, humans, Trudell the Comic God here, and today I'm gonna teach you how to make a comic book, even if you don't have skills. Alright? Alright, so you got no skills. Like at all? None? Okay, that's fine. Because you want to make something awesome. Well, I'm here to teach you how to do that, because it's all good. Not everyone has a skill. I assume you have an idea. I assume you like comics, that's why you clicked on this. You just gotta hire some people, man. Just gotta hire people to make what you want to make. Now, as long as the idea, if you want to make something awesome, and honestly, I'm sure you have ideas in spades. You've been reading comics since you were a little child, so you have you have ideas upon ideas, or maybe just one awesome idea, and that is enough because one idea is all it takes to hit. If you don't have any ideas, I don't know why you clicked on this video. If you do, I'll tell you what you need to do. First off, you're gonna need a writer. The writer will turn the idea that you have into a full-fledged story. Then, what the writer's going to do is turn that story that you guys crafted together into a script. And pay these people well, but the script is so important, it's as important as a movie having a script. So, this is a crucial part. And if you don't pay them well, you got to make a good deal with them. Everyone's different. I don't know how much it is to pay a professional writer, but you could find those online. Now, second, you're going to need an editor. After your story's finished, get someone to edit it. So it's a nice and solid script, no mistakes, and honestly, it doesn't have to be a professional. I make stories, and I'll get friends or family to edit them. Honestly, my mom edits most, if not all of my stuff, just because, well, she's good with it. She's a communications major, she works in communications, so she's actually really nice with it. I was lucky for that, and she's a writer herself, but it doesn't need to be a professional, especially if you're just doing this as a hobby. Just get someone to check it out. And you need other eyes. So if it's just you and a writer, sometimes when you look at something for too long, you'll see stuff that aren't necessarily there. You'll be like, oh, obviously I came up with this, so I get it. And the writer's not too different. So get an editor. And this is crucial before the next steps. Because next, you need an artist. And having a full-fledged script that's pretty much concrete is what you'll need in this phase. So, be involved in the process with the artist, but let them do their thing. They're the professional, they know how to do it, so don't being too specific can hurt the project. Some world and character design will be needed, so you'll probably have to pay the artist for both the interior and some design work, but it really depends. It doesn't really depend, that's going to be needed. It depends how in-depth they'll have to go with it. And by the way, the picture in the background is I drew it. It's from my comic Blood. Check it out if you wanna. Link will be down below. But I'm gonna stop selling you and go to the next point. Interior pages. That's gonna be the longest. That will take a decent amount of time, depending how big your book is. If you're just making one issue, it could just be a month, right? Or it could be longer. It really depends on how many pages there are. But interior pages going from thumbnails. So, I'll tell you this part. So, they'll take the script to the thumbnail phase. Then they'll take the thumbnails to the roughs. Then they'll take the roughs to the pencil phase. And then they'll take pencils to ink. So you're involved in all this process. Once you get to the ink, it's pretty much concrete what's there. And that is what the picture over here is. That's the ink phase. I usually, me personally, don't go beyond that. Just because I like the kind of more basic manga look. I don't need to color them, I feel. But, and neither do you, unless you want the color, which is, you can do so much with color. That's an art in and of itself. So, it all depends on what you want, really, because you're the head of this project. Then, it goes, like I said, from inks to colors. And this all doesn't have to be the same artist. Usually, from thumbnails to pencils will be the same, like in traditional comic art. Well, from thumbnails to pencils, and then inks will be someone, and then colors will be someone else. So you'd have 3 different people doing your interiors, but for my projects, I do them digitally, and I do them, I do from A to B. And as far as digital art goes, usually you'll get someone to go all the way to the inking phase, if not further. So it all depends on who you're hiring, if they can do it all or not, and pay them accordingly. You got to be fair, because there's a lot out there where they're like, oh, Comics broke me because I got paid $1 per page and I had to do it in 3 days for a 52-page book, which, I don't know, sometimes when I read stuff like that, I'm like, how did you even accomplish that? But there's some awesome, talented people out there that work quick. So pay them right and fair. That's what I think. Or you can make a deal with them, and maybe that's a way. Everyone has different parameters for where they're willing to work, so just be fair. Next up, you need a letterer. Sometimes the artist will do this too, but not all the time. For me, for example, I will do all the other stuff, and I'll do the lettering for my own projects, but I don't love to do the lettering. It's not the best in the world. But, so, just see if that's something your artist will do. And a letterer is speech and narrative bubbles with also onomatopoeias, so basically sound effects. We all know, well, it's all right here. You guys know what I'm talking about if you're a comic fan. And it always looks better when you use these properly. Nothing's worse than an artist doing an amazing page, and then they didn't take the speech bubbles into account, and now the face has to be covered with a speech bubble. That's awful. Or something crucial is being covered by an onomatopoeia. That isn't it. And I've seen books, professional books, that have, well, usually indie books, but that have that, and it's just not, it's not it. So that's very important, especially for the other phase. But again, if you hire professionals, they know what they're doing. Now, next is super important. The formatter. I'm not sure if this is the actual name, but it's to get all the files ready for the public to see. So whether you're doing digital or physical, they get the files published ready. And this is super important. I remember the first time I tried to format my book. It was a children's book I made with my mom, and that it took me a month just to do the formatting right because I didn't know. So honestly, it's good to hire people. I've gotten better at it, so I know how to format my own books, but I have trouble every time. It doesn't take me a month anymore, but it will take me a whole day, and I won't be happy about it. But it's so worth the money. It's so worth the money to get someone to just format it for you, and they can export it into every different way you're going to do it. Is it publishing? Okay, you're publishing for color. Okay, you're publishing for digital. Okay, you're going to upload it to Amazon. Okay, this is what you'll need, and get them to do each and every one because they're all a little bit different. Now, testers. This is super important. I recently finished a book, and I went to a party not too long ago, and I brought it. And I got, like, you know, there's always someone just chilling out, sitting down at a party, and I'd be like, hey, you want to check this out? And when they'd give me feedback as they're reading it, and that is invaluable. Because, like I said before, when you look at something too long, especially if you're just working with one person, or in my situation by myself, there's a lot of things that you can get stuck on or not notice. Like, for example, in mine, the girl's weapon would be in some shots and not in other. So, and when she finally had to pull out the weapon, my friend was like, hey, where'd you get this from? It's not in all these pages. Where'd you get the hammer from? And I'm like, yeah, fair point. I had it at the beginning of the book, but I noticed that in the 4 panels before she actually has to use it, it's not there. So that's super important to get feedback because, like I said, there's some things that you just don't see anymore once you're working on a project for like a month, 2 months, however long. And like I said before, friends and family are fine, and they'll be the easiest. You don't have to get paid testers to do it. Bring it to a party, or bring it to a gathering, or just go to the people in your house and say, hey, can you check this out? Because they'll tell you what's up. I also get my mom to check out my things, and she is brutally honest with me, and I love it. So it's super important. And yeah, does it make sense? Does it read well? You could ask some questions after the fact, or just see what they have to say. And take what they have to say, either if you're doing it with one person or many. You could make notes. I usually just keep them in my head. I should probably make notes. And then go make those changes. And honestly, do the testing again after that, because you're probably going to miss some things. Every time I get my thing edited or read, there's something I miss out from the feedback people gave me, regardless if I wrote things down or not. So I think that's ultra important. Now, publishing. Publishing is easier than you would think, but it's still a task if you haven't done it before. So I think if this is just a personal project, self-publishing is fine, is good to do. I self-publish all my stuff. Have your own website, especially if you're self-publishing, because you could get buyers from your own website. Are you going to have digital, physical, or both? I think it's important to have both. regardless, if I think you could honestly, I think you could start with digital and see if you want to do physical or not. Only one of my books is physical, or only one of my comics is physical. A few of the storybooks are physical, but I think you should do both, even if you're doing print on demand like Amazon, because why not have it available, right? It should be as many places as possible, and this is something I got to get better with, just putting it more places, but having it digital on your website, having it digital on Amazon, having it physical on Amazon, and I'll go through these later in the video, but that's important. And also, you could submit to publishers. Now, you usually don't need the full story finished if you're submitting to publishers. You'd usually need a pitch and some art, but this is about making a whole comic book. So if you want me to do how you would go through a submission, comment below. And if I get enough, I'll probably go through the submissions. Maybe I'll make a whole project and try to submit it. That might be a fun project. Let me know if you guys want me to do that. And I'll just tell you step-by-step how to in one video in the future. So let me know. Now, marketing. This is something I have trouble with, but it is super important. Now, your group, if you don't have like a huge social media, is going to be your friends and family. So you got to use your social media, use word of mouth, and just tell your friends and family that, hey, I got this book for sale. Or even if you have it digitally for free, and you just want people to read it, just tell your friends and family, hey, this is what I got, go check it out. And they will. Not all of them. Not all of them. I have a few friends that haven't downloaded mine, but a lot of them will. And that's great. Now, once word gets out, and especially if it's good, friends of friends and family. I guess there should be family and friends of friends and family, because they'll tell the people that are closest to them. And if they share your stuff, that's going to be the people who see it. So your network and your network's network are the easiest to grasp. So also social media, it's always important to put it there, put it on all your social medias, because usually just casually people have at least 3, right? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, or a LinkedIn, or just put it on all your social medias. You'll never know. One of my friends isn't on anything but LinkedIn, which I never did, but I was like, oh, you know what? One day I'll just throw this there too. And I got 2 different downloads just because of that. And I know 2 isn't a lot, but this is when I'm first starting out, and it's something. So put it everywhere. Also, online groups. I personally, like I said, I have to get better at this. I'm not a part of any online groups, but Facebook groups and Discords and other group-related social medias, it's good to find like-minded people, and they'll check your stuff out. If you're in a group that is full of people who make comics, they're probably all going to check it out, because that's why you're in the group, right? So online groups are crucial, and this is something I need to get better at, but it's something that's there, and it's something that I hear everyone talk about when I'm looking at marketing into really anything, but especially books. And social media ads. Everything was free until this. Social media ads you'll pay for, but it might be worth it because you can get really specific. And honestly, growth is hard to do on social media right now without just paying for it. So social media ads, I think that's important. And I'm pretty sure you can do pretty cheap ads, like $5, $10, $20 ads. So I think it'd be worth it to at least try it out once and see. And I know it gets costly when you have to pay for everything before even the book's out, just to make it, and then have to pay for marketing. But if you want more people to see it, sometimes it's necessary. So social media ads. All right, printing. Think if you need to. You could just do digital, and that's fine. A lot of people will download digital, but more people like physical. There are people who bought physical books of mine that will not buy my downloadable books. And they say, I want it, but I'll wait until it's out on physical, because they just like it. And I have a whole big ass bookshelf right there because I love physical books too. So I definitely get it. But think if you need to. Your first run could be digital, and that's fine, right? Especially if you're just getting it out there. And for me, for example, I'm doing issues. So all the issues are going to be digital, and then I'll have a volume that's physical, and I think that's more worth it. That is my plan anyways. So you could also do print on demand. Something Amazon would be the biggest, but the rates are shocking when you first look at it, because He'll be like, oh, okay, I'll make this book $8. I can't. Okay, fine. I guess I'll make it $20, but I only get $2 of that. That's jarring. So you're gonna be surprised when you first look at that, but that's fine. But also, Amazon's not the only one. So I would look around and see what are the best print on demand books out there. And honestly, just putting it on Amazon so people have it in their homes is worth it. I think at least the first time around, because now people have it. So sure, you didn't get paid what you thought you'd get paid on it, but people have it, and that's important, in my opinion, anyways. So you can print and store it. Unless you have a lot of space in your house, I don't recommend this, because then you're just going to have a bunch of boxes there for a while. And a way to get around this would be making pre-orders and seeing how many people actually pre-order it. That would be good. But then storing it in your house, you got to also send it out yourself, and it makes things super complicated. So I think if you're just starting out, print it on demand and digital are probably where it's going to be at. But if you have a huge market anyways, print and store it at your house if you can, especially if you have the space, because you'll end up making more money per book anyways. So that's good. And make sure to call and look around for all of this, especially the printing, because I had a situation where, for example, I asked how much would this be? And they said, okay, I'll quote you, let's say it was $100, right? And then I called the next day, and they're like, oh no, I said 100, I meant 500. And that was jarring. And for no reason, it was the next day, and you know how people will bullshit you a little bit. Oh, paper, right? And then you got to call around and look. And then I found one for like $150, for example, and that's the one I went with because I didn't feel like they were screwing me at that point. But yeah, no, you just got to be careful, look around, call around, check out print shops in your area, check out online things. It's just good to do your due diligence on your own projects. All right, now distribution. If you're just doing digital, skip it. We don't need distribution because it's all online, and that's perfect and easy. If it's print on demand, the company deals with their distribution. They're taking a pretty penny, but it's almost worth it at that point. Now, if you buy and store it all, then the distribution will fall on you, like I was saying before. So you're gonna have to ship it out. You're gonna have to put it in packages. You're gonna have to make sure it gets where it needs to be undamaged. But there are companies that will help you out with that. I know, like for example, I always hear about ShipStation. I don't know what it is. I've never used it. I don't distribute any of my artwork myself, or my writings, or my books. But I always hear it on podcasts, so that might be something to look into. And I'm sure there's 1,000 other companies that do the same thing. So I would check it out for sure. Also, get your friends to help, because if you have a lot of orders and you got to get it out in a certain amount of time, you might want to just make like a conveyor line where someone's passing you the book, someone's putting it in a package, someone's putting the cardboard behind it, someone's putting on that nice sticker that you printed. And there's worth in this, because sometimes artists will send out just really pretty packages, and I think that is important as far as just presentation goes. And now if you leave it with Amazon, it'll look like you got an Amazon package. Now, I'm always happy to get my Amazon packages, but it's something special people are putting into it when they're shipping it themselves. So that's nice. You got to decide what you want to do. I don't do that, but it's not to say I won't in the future, And start small. So if you are gonna get some books, maybe get 100 copies, especially if you don't have a huge network, right? Like I got maybe 20 copies of my mom's children's book. I drew, she wrote, and I did some editing. And anytime, we just got it because we wanted to have our first physical book, but anytime a friend of mine or a friend of a friend had a kid, I'd bring it to them and be like, check out this book, this is something I made. And they would always be appreciative and think it's kind of cool. So even if you're not selling them, just having it to hand out to some people is not the worst in the world. And like I said before, do your research. You got to do your research on all this just so you get the best deal, because you never know what's out there until you look. All right, so to conclude, to make your own comic, what you need is you need to get a writer to expand and write your idea and turn that into a script. Then you need an artist or multiple artists to complete the vision, from taking the script, turning it to thumbnails, to roughs, to pencils, to inks, to colors, to lettering. And then you got to pay your people, each and every one. You got to get someone to format it, get people to edit and make sure the story makes sense, even if it's just friends and family. Decide how you're going to publish, whether it's self-publish or you're going to try to submit to a publisher. And don't forget to register your book. Look it up, but register your book, have an ISBN, have the barcode. That's a bunch of things you don't think about that you will need, and it's rough every single time because I'll take time to get a project done, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I have to do this thing that I always forget to do. So look it up. It's important to do. And I'm in Canada, so I register it Canadianly. But I'm sure there's a different way, the different places you go. Get it to readers with marketing and distribution. Again, look this up. I'm sure there's easier ways to do it online because there's something for everything nowadays. And thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, especially if you got this far. Now, do you want to know anything else about comics? Let me know in the comments. Also, illustration and story stuff I do. So anything, illustration, story, or comics, if you want to know how to, I got you. So just let me know. Like, subscribe, please. I would appreciate that. And if you made it this far, say hey in the comments. I love the interactions, and I appreciate you humans. Again, especially if you made it this far. That is amazing. And I hope everyone has a dope day. Peace out, humans. Y'all are awesome.